Hello, everyone. We're joined tonight by John Hardwick. Hello. Yeah, let me just turn you up. Talk now.
Okay.
How are you doing?
Yeah.
You doing good?
Yeah, I'm doing okay.
Good. So, I just kind of want to get this fresh now that we're at the end of 2024 and, plenty of thing has happened. So, let's just take it back because I used to be a fan of this guy too back in like the early 2010s. So,
All right.
Who? Let's start because you're the subject, all right? Because you have
All right.
a role in this history. I'm just I'm a recent Dickersologist, let's say, but you're a part of you're a part of lore, and I appreciate you
Yeah.
joining this humble program tonight. So,
Thank you.
so let's just get into it. Tell me, when did you first come across this YouTube channel, and just walk us through that.
Oh God, it was around probably 2010, 2011. I know I probably saw a couple videos before that, but the one that really sticks out to me was, this is back in 2011. It was the Retron 3 review. He did a review, he did a review. It was of a couple of clone consoles. That's when I started watching him, and everything's kind of bleak. I think I didn't really start watching him regularly until late 2014.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, everything. I remember when he did the Advanced Warfare Edition unboxing. That was one of the reasons I kind of got the Advanced Warfare Call of Duty bundle. Unfortunately, I sold it to a scammer and didn't get my money back, but that's beside the point. Yeah, and that was shortly around when the Big Cheese stuff happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me, where were you when Big Cheese was scammed out of the $200?
I didn't notice much about the videos, basically, because, I didn't pay all that attention to it until, like, maybe early 2015 when the troll channels started to appear around. Right around, like, oh, God, it was, like, February or March of 2015, I got connected with Rich on Facebook. I tried sending friend requests for about a month or so, and I finally got it, and things started to go. The first time things went sour with me and him was when he found out I left a positive comment on a Review Hell USA video.
Mm-hmm. So I want to jump in there. Who was Review Hell USA?
He was this guy. He was from the UK, somewhere in Scotland. He made multiple accounts. I mean, he was originally known as Review Hell USA, and then he became RTU critic, and then he kind of ended the trolling career as Junk Media. He was also Anna Doyle as well, if you remember that.
Mm-hmm.
He was one of Rich's the biggest troll he ever had.
Mm-hmm.
And they both got under each other's skin. Rich wanted to do a boxing match with him back in 2016, and that never really went anywhere. He's still around, but he's just not making videos anymore. He still, like, comments on stuff with his regular YouTube channel and everything like that, but he hasn't made a video since 2021.
Mm-hmm. And just to clarify, this is a distinct personality from Review China USA.
Yes. Yeah. Although him and Review China still interact with each other.
Sort of a portal almost between China and hell.
But the Crusaders, it was several people. It was a bunch of people. They had people like Review China, Sierra Air, the Gameplayness, Review Hell, but a lot of the group is kind of disbanded for the most part. Review China started a new Crusaders, and he's trying to rebuild again.
Review China did that.
Yeah.
So Review China is rising, but Review Hell is dormant, would you say, overall?
Yeah, like, there have been people that have asked him to come back, and he's not really interested in coming back.
So let's just cut to it, and we'll circle back to other stuff. But let's just get it out of the way. What's the doxing story with Review Hell USA? Let's go. Give me the whole, the A to Z.
This was back in 2015. You know, Review Hell doxed both Rich and Mundane Matt and everything, and
he doxed Mundane Matt.
Yes.
One of his few allies. One of his few allies in the current day. Mundane Matt.
Yeah, they were doing they did a couple podcasts together. One show was called The Verdict, and he got a little message, you know, that was kind of blackmailing him. He refused to comply, and he got doxxed anyway. Yeah.
So, you were, if I'm not mistaken, you were the character in the Kino Casino versus Reviewtechusa situation where they posted the stream. I first learned about this from June the King, because I actually, just real quick, I learned about the casino from the June the King documentary. Because I watched the June the King documentary on the mysterious Mr. Enter, who I used to watch, you know, back in the day. And then I saw that there was a Review Tech video, and I thought, a rich history of failure. That, I wonder what's happened since high school. You know, because I watched him when he would talk about, like, the Xbox 720 and things. But I stopped watching him because, like, you kind of grow out of YouTube, and guys like him are the first to go. In a respect.
Yeah.
So you were underage when he converted you to essentially become a double agent troll.
Oh yeah. I was I was 16 years old. I was I kind of started, like, the first time I sort of was a double agent. I just kind of gave him information to get back on his side. But the second time, it was when I rejoined the Crusaders. It was him who kind of wanted to, because he wanted to get Review Hell off of his back, and he already knew that, you know, the first time I kind of did a double agent thing, I'd figured out who Review Hell was because he told me via an exchange. And so since Rich already knew that, he decided to try to find a way to kind of, I guess, sort of a manipulation kind of thing, try to get me back on his side and everything. When I reconnected with Rich again, I was in like, it happened during speech class at school. We were about to get out and everything. All of a sudden, I get a Facebook message and a friend request from Rich. I'm like, what in the world is this? And so that's when the messages you saw on the old RTU Critic video they showed on Kino Casino, that's where sort of that originated.
And you were 16, and what grade of school were you in?
I was it was the first semester of junior year. Although when I first gave Rich the info the first time, I did a sort of a double agent thing where it was me voluntarily. That was back in June of 2015, after I finished my sophomore year of high school, when I reconnected with Rich, everything. When he contacted me in speech class, I was in my junior year.
So how old were you when he first contacted you?
I was 16.
Okay. 16. So you're halfway through high school, and you're, not to put words in your mouth, but your favorite YouTuber, or close enough to make little difference, hits you up.
Yeah.
Right? And where does it go from there?
I was kind of angry at him. At the time. That's why I joined the Crusaders. That's why, because I was kind of angry at him at the time, because, he was kind of dicking me around and everything with the whole, Facebook friendship thing, although it was kind of a weird reason. I had a bunch of problems when I was a teenager in terms of mental stuff and everything, so it's kind of, it's kind of hard looking back on this stuff. I mean, this is 9 years ago.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I just want to, have this on the record, because I think that a lot of Richard, and I'm not going to call him Dickers. This is not a comedy video, or a troll video. But I just think with Richard, I think that a lot of his tactics involve the problems with memory, and things fade into memory, and that's why until the June the King documentary and the casino clips, in the PPP exposed Richard, because when you look at the totality of it, there's a whole host of people to play, but in the PPP is the one who brought it to the modern audience through putting it on the Kino's agenda. I'm not glazing them. I'm just stating what I've seen.
I know.
And I think that the point of making this video is not, to chase the hem of Dicker's garb. It's to put it on the record of, what the actual facts of the lore are, which is that the guy uses dirty tactics. African warlords, only some of them use child soldiers. I didn't know that the same was true of YouTubers.
Yeah, honestly, Rich at the time and everything, he was really desperate. He really wanted to get Review Hell off of his back, and he wanted to try any means necessary kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. So did you know?
Another person now there's another YouTuber who did 2 good documentaries on Rich. One was almost 2 hours, the other one was almost 30 minutes. You ever heard of Mikey No More? Or no. Mikey No More?
I haven't.
Yeah, he did 2 really good videos that were almost as good as June the King's. He did 3 months ago, around the time he did June the King thing. He did a video called Reviewtechusa to Road to Career Ruination and Reviewtechusa Week of Humiliation.
I have watched those videos.
The funniest part, you saw that?
I have watched those videos. Yes.
Yeah, the funniest part and everything was where Mikey was talking about, he mentioned The Sopranos and how The Sopranos had a bad effect on Italian-American society, and you kind of compared Rich to a cheap Tony Soprano knockoff. You know what I mean? I don't know if you saw that one.
I see that. I mean, I appreciate the, I looked into a little bit of PPP lore, throughout, now and then. I don't know the depth of it because I don't care, with all due respect to the king. But I know that he, used to, or comes from a line of, I believe, preachers, and you hear it in his rhetoric with, it's like a Huey Long-esque, almost Jeffersonian proselytizing to make the point. Richard.
Yes. Richard what?
Sorry, I lost my train of thought for a moment. So tell me about Richard employed these. I'll circle back to that if I catch it, but I'll just move right on. Tell me about the Shadows government situation.
Well, right around shortly after Rich Review Hell got Rich's sponsorship with Hop Hog removed, he hired this criminal psychologist and everything, Dr. Nuccitelli. Mm-hmm. And he also hired this guy named Shadows Government, whose name was Todd Nisley. He committed suicide back in 2017. Dr. Nuccitelli is still around, though. He's still doing stuff, but Shadow died in 2017. I believe it was suicide. I'm not sure. That's from what I've heard. But he hired these 2 guys, but they both had rather shady pasts, particularly Shadow, who had some criminal convictions, and he was even on the news for breaking into a hospital and pretending to be a doctor as some sort of test of their securities. I think you could look up that news report somehow, somewhere. Mm-hmm. And they both, particularly Shadow, tried to dox some of his trolls and everything, and they got into a few spews and everything. I didn't really know much about the Shadows government thing, but I know he did make that sponsorship video, and he took it down in maybe 2 months or something from it happening.
Mm-hmm. So what did Richard know, and when did he know it in these situations, do you think? Do you think that he's a pathological liar? Is he someone who doesn't does he intend to do wrong, or does he just not know how to cope with his own actions, so he deludes himself? I mean, it's really like, it's
Probably a
ironic
little
that
bit.
it's
Probably a little bit of both. Probably a little bit of both.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like sometimes, like I've noticed, like he'll lie or be two-faced to try to make himself look good, but it ends up spitting back in his face and everything. I remember when I was having problems with Big Cheese
Mm-hmm.
and everything. Big Cheese can't stand me because I kind of went all review hell on him too.
Mm-hmm.
When like he blocked me on Facebook and everything. This was back in 2015, 2016, and you know, Rich was over there. You know, he was being nice to me and everything. But when Big Cheese made a Facebook post about me,
Mm-hmm.
trying to expose me out, Rich was over there talking shit about me.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked Rich about it and everything. I probably need to go back on my screen cap. He was like, yeah, I did that and everything because you were being like this to Big Cheese, so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So like he has a tendency, like, you know, he's done this before where he'll talk about a person to them in one way, but he'll talk about that same person to someone else in a different light.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sort of a two-faced kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it calls to mind when, you know, Phil, told him he was wishing his child well, and I'm not going to get into his children. And Jay was wishing, not Jay, but, you know, him and Jay have gone, you know, he's a pendulum on Jay. I just think that he has no emotional bearings.
No. And one thing I noticed, I saw like there was a video and everything. Remember when Rich lost back in 2019 when Rich lost that crap ton of weight and everything, and there was a controversy of him, where people debated whether or not he had weight loss surgery. He swore on his kids he didn't have weight loss surgery, and then when he interviewed Wings on one of his podcasts, he accidentally admitted that when Wings was talking about his weight loss surgery, Rich accidentally admitted that he had it.
Here's the pathology about Richard that I can't understand, is that he always says, why is everyone talking about my kids? Right?
Yeah.
And that's all well and good. And that's all well and good. But he brings it up every day.
And that's one of his triggers. You know, if you say anything about his kids, he'll go ape shit mad, and he'll even imagine you dying a violent death and wishing a violent death upon you. Like you saw some of the most recent tweets or X posts he did.
He's all about the Blood Eagle now, which I believe was featured in the film Midsummer. He every time he brings up Andy Worski, and just to be clear, like all three of these guys, you know, are guys, like, I don't have these parasocial not to knock parasocial relationships, but like these are three guys, Review Tech I knew in high school, but three guys who I did not watch before this summer, and who all three of them, let's just say I could respect someone liking or disliking for their own reasons.
Yeah.
But every time he brings up Andy Worski, he says, it's not even just that he wishes death on him. It's that, like, it's almost like it's really Buffalo Bill. I mean, he's aroused by wishing death on Andy Worski is like the only conclusion you can draw.
Yeah. I remember there was a live stream he did. He put it on the Google Drive and everything where he was talking about a story about a hitman in prison and everything, you know, he put a pedophile in a room full of rats, and he talked about a guy getting eaten to death by rats. I know pedophiles are scumbags, but getting eaten to death by rats and enjoying anybody seeing getting eaten to death by rats is just Rich actually smiled at that idea of someone getting eaten to death by rats.
Why doesn't he talk about video games?
I don't know. about video games a lot more and everything. When he started his channel, it was like, you know, it was about gaming, but now he just wants to sit down, you know, drink these giant packs of seltzer he buys from Walmart and just sit down and watch Phil.
Yeah,
that's mostly what he does.
I actually disagree with you know, it's a quibble, but the casino was talking in the latest clips that he was doing the cope seltzers, but I actually
the weed seltzers, they're not weed seltzers.
Yeah,
matter of fact,
it's polar.
If you zoom in on the live streams seltzers. And you look at the seltzer, they're just normal, normal everyday brand
polar
seltzer.
Or Sundrift, and like unless he's so insecure and addicted that he's like emptying out the cans off screen and pouring in weed seltzer. Like I actually think not that he's sober, but I actually like believe that he's not drinking seltzers on stream anymore, because he's also like his personality is more like active and belligerent lately on stream. Like he's not just like in like a cope weed trance. Like he's actually like he's too mad to be high.
I think the way Rich drinks his seltzer and everything, it's like he's got symptoms of a dried out alcoholic.
That's a great point.
You know?
No, it's absolutely like a muscle memory thing almost.
Yeah. Just the way he guzzles and everything, you know, like, you know, if, you know, he talked about 8-Bit Eric, you know, being an alcoholic and everything, but I'm pretty sure like Rich probably was one at one point. We don't know.
Well, everything with him is projection.
Yeah.
So what, I remember PPP mentioning that you were the first one to inform him of the existence of Becky Boop.
Yes, that is correct. I tried sharing an old video of Becky Boop did back in 2016. Becky Boop hasn't really been active on YouTube and for quite a long time and everything. You know, she's talked to other people she's appeared on other videos, but she hasn't really when Rich was having issues with the RTU critic, you know, or Reviewtechusa when he was in his RTU critic phase, Becky Boop talked about the situation. She had somehow knew Rich and everything, so they did an interview together, and she also chatted with the RTU critic. She didn't interview him face to face because he was not a fan of using his real face and voice. So they did a little exchange for a little bit, but I think RTU critic tried to dox Becky Boop and everything for what happened, and her video kind of got people to indirectly got people to flag RTU critic.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't even know that, you know, I thought he knew Becky Boop from YouTube stuff, but apparently, like, from what Becky Boop said, she first encountered Rich on, like, Plenty of Fish back in 2008.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't even know they knew each other that long. I knew they knew each other for, you know, at least since 2016, but I didn't even know, like, before Becky Boop went on Locale Live that she knew Rich that long.
Mm-hmm. My understanding of the lore is that they matched circa 2007, 2008. He messaged her, and she may or may not have messaged him back. I think the casino said that she never messaged him back, but he said, but it also came up later that he said, because the message leaked on Plenty of Fish of him saying she's the most beautiful woman he's ever seen. And unless he sent it as the first message, they probably did message on Plenty of Fish, but it was probably just like small talk that went nowhere.
Yeah. And one thing I knew, you know, because I kind of talked to Rich on a kind of personal level, is he was engaged 5 years to this woman named Lauren Baldanza Giacomelli, and like he was engaged to her for years and never even bothered to plan a wedding. So as far as I know, like, you know, and I think there was a Facebook post one time where Lauren's engagement ring got stolen, and I don't even know if he replaced it or not.
Mm-hmm. So
yeah.
How did that? Because he always calls her his ex-wife and his ex-fiance. Like,
to be honest, I think he only called her ex-wife and everything, or he did call her wife at the time because he was kind of embarrassed to admit that he never even bothered to put on the wedding.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know, based on like, you know, some of the personal stuff that came out and everything, that he never bothered marrying her.
Mm-hmm. And is he still selling his parents' house?
I have no idea. I haven't been Facebook friends with Rich in a long time and everything. And he did follow me on X for a little bit, but shortly I kind of had a sort of a political feud with some people in the comment in his replies after the whole he tried being right wing for a little bit, or
Which
he
is
pretended to
already
be
over.
right wing. He blocked me.
Mm-hmm. He followed me today.
I can still see his posts. Though, based on Elon's new block policy. But other than that, I can't reply and everything, or reply to people in the replies. I have to quote tweet in order to engage with people in the replies.
Mm-hmm. All right. So so where else? So let's talk. Just inform me. Are there any other sort of Forrest Gump moments in Richtery that you come up in? Because you were involved with this guy throughout the decade.
Trying to think now. I did have some spats with the Crusaders that had nothing to do with Rich and everything directly and everything. I know, me and Review Hell had some beefs and everything, and we got into a beef to a point where I lost a job. Mm-hmm. And everything. I was working at Circle K, but it was sort of my fault and everything, because I was filming videos at work and everything, and that was a no-no. Mm-hmm. And so he used that to make a complaint and everything. Corporate saw it, and I got terminated, had to sign termination papers and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And, of course, I did have a on and off spat with Sierra Air and everything, and he did send pizzas, and one time he sent diapers to my house, but we've kind of settled everything there, and we've stayed out of each other's business.
Sure.
But other than that, I think I've described most of it until what happened very recently, where it's
Sure. So let's bring me. We're in January 2024. Take me through the year.
That
in respect to Richard.
Well, things seemed okay until right around February of 2024, where he got into it with Jay Hoof, JKB. Now, Jay and Rich had known each other for a long time, right around they started interacting with each other around 2009, 2010, back when Jay was hosting this. His YouTube channel was called 3 Kilobytes, and he was hosting it with a guy named Mike Colangelo and a woman named Kat Jovi. Eventually, the three drifted apart and everything, and Jay took over the channel completely, became JKB, and I think around 2015, 2016, Jay became Rich's editor, and Jay's gone on the record a lot with the history and all that, but then 2024 is when he fired Jay, that's when shit really started to hit the fan. But even before then, I think the previous year and everything, when Rich's daughter got sick, that's another thing that kind of made him spiral a little bit.
Sure. So what? And I'm not being gratuitous. I don't want to be gratuitous. What is the situation with the medicine? Is it his fault?
I have no idea. Probably not. I have no way of knowing, because I don't know Rich on that much of a personal level, and Rich tries his best to keep a lot of his private stuff private, although a lot of it does leak out.
It seems like he's the one that brings it. I have never, and I'm not, you have more experience than me with him, but I've never seen someone else leak his information, from the Dropbox to the the things he just says on a daily basis. Yesterday I watched some of his stream, and he said his child's nickname and the layout of the house and their sleeping habits, and I'm I don't want to know this about your family. Talk about the Xbox or call 8-Bit Eric an alcoholic.
I kind of used to be that way too and everything. It's just like, he hates it when people get his personal information or make up stuff. So he lays out any and everything to make sure, like, people, because he doesn't like it when, even though he lies about other people, he doesn't like it when people lie about him. So he'll say any and everything, just to kind of put false information down, although it just ends up causing more shit than what it's worth.
Mm-hmm. Do you think he'll respond to this?
No idea.
Sure.
No idea.
Well, it's interesting because I remember, and I watched this. I'm almost embarrassed. I guess there was nothing else on that night, but I watched because I don't watch him often, like the Raw Review Tech. I remember the night that he reacted to the Mitzi video, and it was both like one of the most like deranged, like misogynistic, like tirades I've ever seen from like a human being, but also it was 2 months later. Like, why are you just like it would be like if you just randomly started going, like it would be like if you threw up a live stream and just went in on Review China USA over some random bullshit.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so let's keep going. Jay gets fired. Where were you? Where were you in this? In the whole thing.
I was watching both of them, and shortly after the Jay got fired thing, back in, was it March or April of 2024, like, I started seeing these videos pop up from this place called Kino Casino. And I never knew who PPP was, but Andy Worski, I should have recognized him. I remember Andy Worski when he did that interview with Rich and Keemstar, like way back in the day, back in 2016, about the whole Patreon thing and the false flagging.
Mm-hmm.
I've completely forgotten who Andy Worski was. Like, but that was the first time I ever saw Andy Worski, Ashton or PPP. I don't think I even heard of until I started seeing the Kino Casino clips. And then I started watching them on Kick because I thought, they were kind of funny and entertaining. And whenever they talked about Rich and everything, a lot of the stuff, that was like a lot of their best stuff.
Mm-hmm. So when did you first come into contact with the casino gentleman?
I started exchanging messages with them when they did that video where they basically talked about me and everything, the Facebook interaction and everything. I DM'd both PPP and Worski, showing them the Becky Boop video and everything, and I had an exchange with Andy, so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm. Now, how about when okay, so they're making the video about you being essentially, made to turn cloak by Review Tech, and they call it Review Tech USA Exposed. Were you watching that stream?
I think I saw the clipped version.
Okay, so you weren't watching live when Review Tech then essentially jumped the gun, so to speak, and revealed the Dropbox's existence. Not unprovoked, I suppose, but not understanding what he was being provoked about.
I honestly, I didn't care too much about the Dropbox thing because I think, because the stuff Jay said and everything, his story seemed somewhat, well, at least why the pictures were in the Dropbox seemed plausible, but at the same time, that's not, to me, it was kind of a nothing burger, really. But what really got me mad about Rich eventually, everything was, well, he started back in July when he just had those tirades and everything. There was one post I remember and everything, where he invited a troll or somebody for barbecue, and he was like, he sarcastically said, "I promise I won't smash your face into the grill."
Tonight he called me a crackhead.
What?
tonight he I replied to his few of his tweets, which I'm sure I've replied to him before, but I'm not not often. But I replied to a few of his tweets, and eventually he called me a crackhead.
Did he block you?
Not yet. But I did suggest that he get together. I recommended him to a woman from a different internet saga. So anyway, I'll just say I tagged him in it. I was also replying to April Anderson. I'm sorry. And I was like, you should get together with this eligible bachelor at Reviewtechusa, and he quoted me and he said, "Who is this crackhead?" And what's also funny is that he tweeted about he was like right-wing grifters, this and the other thing. And I just said, "Shut up, Richard." And 8-Bit Eric liked that tweet, just completely unmentioned, but just the most random 8-Bit Eric like ever. It was so lit.
Yeah. Another thing that pissed me off is this was shortly after he blocked me and everything. He did one of his Worski live streams and everything where he was talking about the revenge porn thing. Now, originally he was accusing Jay of the revenge porn, but I shared the clip and everything where he mentioned my name and he said, he's the dude talking about me. He's the dude who duped her into sending the revenge porn. Mm-hmm. And on the next stream and everything, he said it was Jay that did it. Mm-hmm. But it kind of pissed me off. He accused me of doing the revenge porn. Like, I don't do that type of shit anymore. Mm-hmm. And I had no reason to.
Mm-hmm. What's your take on him being banned from the holidays?
I don't know.
You know what I think?
I hate laughing at other people's misery, but that was actually kind of funny. But then he made a tweet saying, he was spending the holidays with his family again, so I don't even know if he was telling the truth or he was able to reconcile or something. I never know with Rich sometimes.
You know what I think?
What?
I think that if they banned him from the holidays, good for them. Not because it's funny or because he deserves it or because it isn't the saddest thing ever, which it is. It's because I'm glad that they finally put their fucking foot down with this guy who lives in their attic and live streams for 45 fucking years.
Oh, he lives in the bottom floor, so it's technically the basement. So he's going by the basement now.
That's fair. I mean, at this point, RTU Streams is also a dead name. He's the basement.
Yeah.
So
one thing I've never understood is like when his income started to decline and everything, he still hasn't like made an effort to get even a part-time day job.
Is he stupid or is he self-destructive?
I think both.
Mm-hmm. Because I just think that like at a certain point, all right, like if and like 2025, like this can't last into 2026. Let me just put it like this, all right? And this is my loose observation. Like, let's take the Rekieta thing, for example, which I'm not in depth about and I'm not going to get into here. But like, when you look
I'm not big on Nick Rekieta, especially how they treated. There's these two voice actresses I know. I've taken pictures with them and videos with them at cons. They're on my channel. Jamie Markey and Monica Rial. I do not like how Nick, treated those two and tried to come up with a harassment campaign with them.
Sure. All to say is this with Nick Rekieta is that about 2 years ago he decides to start destroying his life, right? And my point with the Rekieta comparison to Richard is that you can only destroy your life for so long because eventually you succeed. And my point about like this can't last into 2026 is this. It's that there's basically 3 outcomes, which is that he retires, right? And he goes away, and that could be like a Review Hell USA retires, which is like, he can still like use the internet, but like, besides editing Wikipedia and, he's pretty much retired. 2 is that he goes back to like general sanity. And I'm not saying he reviews tech in the USA, but he watches Phil and chills out a little bit. Or 3, he's gonna go full like Ethan Ralph, move to Mexico and like, I'm in Tijuana. Can you give me $5 so I can get an iMac Mini? Like, Richard is, he doesn't have that much of a life left to destroy if in the first place.
No, like he's got obviously, he's got real mental health problems and mental demons. I'm kind of familiar with that kind of stuff because I've had them too and everything. And I had a mom who was, she committed suicide back in 2018. She had all kinds of, similar stuff and everything. Very like, erratic, bipolar kind of stuff. So I'm very familiar with, the sort of mental health thing, like, some of Rich's personality traits.
Sure. And my point with it can't last into 2026 is that in the first 2 outcomes where he retires or becomes normal, not normal, you understand, like his career gets back to normal, not interesting anymore. And if he goes full Ralph, I mean, it's just going to be sad, because the thing I always come back to with this guy who's like seemingly like just decided to enter the sector, which I didn't even know existed a few months ago. I knew a couple figures from when they were bad, but like, I didn't know that it was such a community. Let me put it like this. It's like in Breaking Bad, in the 4th episode, where Walter White declines the cancer money from his like rich friend, and it's like man,
I know,
like,
because of his ego. I remember. I've seen the entire series of Breaking Bad.
Sure, it's like, dude, you're in a pretty good spot. I mean, like, if I had cancer and someone offered to pay for the treatment, I'd say, you know what? Yes, and maybe I'll pay you back some now that I'm going to be alive. And with Richard, it's like the casino guys say it. Look, here's what's so interesting about Richard is because, like, the casino guys say it and the lolcow guys say it. This thing, I've never seen a case where there's a feud, right? Where in multiple instances, one guy has opponents who are repeatedly telling him to surrender and to like stop doing this to himself. Because like the old adage is, if your opponent is hurting themselves, don't get in the way. But like there have been multiple occasions, and like even I, like after he followed me back on Twitter, I hesitated to even do this interview tonight, only insofar as like I kind of felt bad for him. Because it's like he's so self-defeating that you almost don't want to help. But
one thing I've noticed about
he's constantly
Richard
hostile.
One thing I noticed about Richard is and everything, he's very, like, he doesn't like doing anything unless he feels comfortable with it. That's one of the reasons he stopped doing gameplay, is like he wasn't comfortable with it anymore. It didn't matter that he was making, that's one of the reasons, he hasn't worked, it's been like a decade since he's worked a regular day job, is that he wasn't comfortable with it and he doesn't like it. If he's not comfortable with it or doesn't like it, doesn't matter the consequences or the outcomes, he's just going to do it. He just does things his own way. It's either his way or the highway. He's very stubborn about it. The only time, he'll succumb to peer pressure is if it really, really, like, damages reputation even more.
Mm-hmm. Well, that speaks to him crushing the wheat seltzers. He needs to be in a constant state of comfort.
Yeah. Or rather, it's not really, from what I see, it's not really weed seltzer, but he has taken weed gummies, and there was a video of him
back in the weed seltzer era, not present day, but
yeah, but I saw the seltzers. They were not weed seltzers, but he was popping those gummies and edibles and things like that. And he used to have a weed vape pen he'd smoke from. He even did a video back in July where like he was smoking from a weed vape pen.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever know of him to do other drugs?
No.
Mm-hmm.
I remember, like, there was one time and everything back in 2019 and everything, instead of seltzer, he was, like, for a little bit drinking Diet Dr. Pepper.
Mm.
You could see it on, oh, man, there's the dating profile video, Review Hell did, or back when he was Junk Media, he did there's a little streaming clip of him drinking Diet Dr. Pepper.
Mm-hmm. Are there any other secrets or lies that come to mind right now?
Not I know of.
All right. We're about to the 45-minute mark. Let's do a curtain call on this, and we'll speak again in the future, but we'll have this at a nice digestible 45 minutes, maybe 50 depending on how this goes. But where do you think it goes from here? What is left in his past that we don't know about yet that you could shed some light on?
I think we pretty much covered everything that I remember and everything. Remember, like, I've known about Rich, who Rich was sort of since 2011-ish when I first watched him. So I'm sure, like, whatever's left and everything, it'll come out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's like the Destiny thing. Like, I saw, like, when I saw that Destiny the other day was, like, had all these videos, with Fuentes and other characters, I'm like, well, that'll be on the internet within the week. And it was.
Yeah, and the Groypers are, like, denying. They're denying about the whole Destiny thing. They don't want to face up to the fact that Nick Fuentes is gay.
Well, I think it's interesting that, like, I'm sure that Richard will bash either or both of them, but, like, he's probably jealous of both of them. I mean, Richard, I won't speculate, but Freud would have a field day.
Yeah.
So, how would you sum up, if you never spoke to him again, let's say it's 10 years from now, last question, would you say, how would you say that Richard as a person has impacted your life?
Well, he did inspire some of my YouTube stuff and everything, and I was entertained by his videos, but I just hate how downhill he went and everything, and I used to actually get along great with him. Now it's just like he's just gotten detestable.
Mm-hmm.
And I do feel bad for his family and everything that they have to put up with his garbage.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly don't like it when the trolls make fun of his family and everything, because, like, his family members and everything, they have to deal with this stuff on a regular basis, and, like, they're not responsible for his poor decisions and poor actions.
Mm-hmm. I mean, when you look at the situation, I mean, it's a man. I know his wife is working, or his ex-fiance works.
Yeah.
But, like, this is a man with 5 dependents. He has his elderly parents, who take care of his children. And I don't think it's funny either to go after them as people. I think of them as, like, quasi victims of, like, a man who, I'm not saying, not neglect in the legal sense, but, like, derelict in his duty as a father and as a son, as a person, a member of society. He stays in his basement all day and live streams, and he won't even play games.
Yeah, and, like, I've seen his Instagram videos and everything. When he's made videos and everything, he's laying down in bed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you've seen his Instagram videos, he's laying down in bed.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it gets to a point where it's like,
I've seen worse fathers than Richard. I mean, as far as I know, he doesn't hit his kids or, like, abuse or yell at him and everything. It seems like he does, like, put food on the table and keep roof over their head. He just doesn't really spend a whole lot of time with them. That's the thing. And I know, like, he talked about them commuting back and forth between Lauren's house and his house.
Mm-hmm. Here's my issue with Richard as a father, and this is where I will go, press him, is that my issue with him as a father is that all of his fucking hijinks online are a public humiliation of his children and everyone he knows in perpetuity, and he constantly brings it up every day, and he constantly reinforces it and makes it worse, and it's like it's I can't imagine being like those kids in high school, like God forbid their peers know that their father is Reviewtechusa, because bullies, bullies would be bad at their job if they didn't fucking bully the shit out of those kids for their dad being dickers. I'm just saying it how it is.
Yeah, but
he is a
probably by
model
the
of how
time
not
they
to be a
get in
father
high
on the
school-
internet.
Yeah. Probably by the time they even get into high school, Reviewtechusa will probably be a distant memory, and he'll be so irrelevant that they don't even bother to dig it up.
But they'll always be his father, and he's does so many things that he should have outgrown.
Hell, I don't even know if Rich will probably be alive when they enter high school, considering how his mental state has deteriorated so much.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I hope not. I hope Richard lives a long and happy life, and I hope that truthfully, I hope that he fucking gets it together. And Richard, if you've watched the end of this video, which is profoundly likely, given that you used to have a 1 million subscriber channel and I have 144, but Richard, I'm begging you, play games. Play Plants vs. Zombies. It's not hard. And talk about something else.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for joining the program, John. We'll be in touch, and Godspeed.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Have a good night.
You too. Bye.